Good morning, good evening, and welcome to the end of November, should you find this when I first post it. I hope you're enjoying your entry into the holidays, and if you were like me, you're already elbow deep into them. While we may be coming into a more stressful time of the year, and you're probably already feeling it, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that happen to be in tandem with each other that I've found in regards to finding healthy relationships either for the first time in a long time or the first time ever. I happen to have wound up in a good deal of bad relationships for whatever reasons. And while you may hear about things that say that the first healthy relationship is the scariest, I didn't necessarily believe it until I found myself in one. For almost the first year of my current relationship, I found this voice in the back of my head when things were calm, when nothing was happening, when things were good even, telling me to run, telling me to leave, telling me to go away. The other shoe would drop, things would get bad again. Finding something that was bad at the beginning at least was reliable. There were no surprises. I knew what to expect. But something that was good, something that made me feel safe, that was scarier. It gave that false sense of security, or at least I thought it was. Really, it's actual security and actual safety, and I had to remind myself of that constantly. And make the choice to love and be present and give as much as I would to any relationship, healthy or unhealthy, given my own past. And it's finally been about a year, and it's finally gone. That voice in the quiet times is no longer there. Now I can just appreciate the relationship that I've built and the connection that we have created and grown, regardless of what that voice in the back of my head was telling me a year ago. In tandem with that, we always hear about the honeymoon phase and how it's wonderful in the beginning and everything else happening. I remember at about the 6-month mark, we would joke about being done with the honeymoon phase. It had already been up and we were happy and everything was fine, and it took until about 10 months for me to actually acknowledge that we were out of it. Finally, we were having conflict and navigating our way through it, which luckily, in a sign of how our relationship is going, our conflicts are never fights. They're never me versus them. It's always us versus a problem. We never hit animosity. We never start attacking each other. It's always wanting to feel heard. We tackle the problem, we find a solution, we make sure that at the end of it, we're coming away feeling secure and feeling like the problem is solved, or at least has a solution. I will continue talking about it after the conflict, but it's never that all-out, teeth-bared, malicious arguing that you see in a lot of relationships and a lot of couples. And it's weird. It's strange. We feel closer after we have conflict, because we're tackling something, we're doing it together. It's this weird sort of teamwork that you don't hear about, you don't see. You don't learn that that's how people should navigate things and explore things. But something that does happen, unfortunately, and especially at this point in our relationship, is triggering each other. Because everyone who has ever had any sort of bad situation happen to them will have a plethora of triggers. And I mean actual ones, not times where they're simply unhappy with something happening or they don't like something. I mean actual triggers, times where you lose your ability to rationally respond and react instead. While that voice may not be in the back of my head during the good times, I definitely notice that we are within that stage of the relationship where any time that we do get triggered, there is that voice in the back of my head saying, this has started happening. This isn't okay. This isn't comfortable. This doesn't feel safe. Run now. Go. Leave. It's not meant to be. And it takes a while for me to come down from that, and it takes a lot of reassurance on both sides. It's scary. It is. And I have to remind myself that I make the choice to stay with this person and continue to cultivate what we are with a shared life, because everything is going to have those speed bumps, and conflict like that is how we tell each other that we want both of ourselves to be happy and we want to create something that brings us both peace and gives us both what we want. We feel safe to have conflict because we know we will be heard. We feel safe to explore these things because we know that we have the respect for each other to do so. And it's hard because you do have to bring those things up and you do have to have confrontation and you do have to have conflict. But at the same time, if you do start to have those triggers hit, you also have to have the bravery to say, it's okay. I'm going to continue to make this choice to be in a place of love and a place of care, and we're going to continue working because that's how anything happens. Otherwise, we're running away from one relationship and running into another one, hitting the same point and running away. There's never going to be something that doesn't have any conflict. People, in and of themselves, create conflict. It's how change happens. Change is born in discomfort. Growth is born in discomfort. And we can't appreciate the good times, and we can't appreciate happiness, and we can't truly feel happy unless we also have something to compare it to, unless we have sadness, conflict, anger, frustration. There is no accomplishment without work. And so we need to remember, I need to remember, that when that voice in the back of my head starts, after I feel triggered and I worry, is this the right decision? Is this the right person? I need to trust myself. That the feelings of what we've made and what we've created in the last year and the space that we hold together and the happiness and the peace and the safety that I feel is what is actually important. That nothing is perfect. That the cracks and the crevices and all the imperfections are what make it even better. That far and away, the conflict that I occasionally have is minuscule next to the attacks and the fighting and the neglect and everything else that I've dealt with, and that most people deal with. It's something that I'll take time and time again and be happy with it. And given that this month, at least for those of us in the United States, have just celebrated Thanksgiving, I think we need to be thankful for those relationships that we have, that we've put work into, that we've poured our cup into, and get to appreciate those that have also put in an equal amount of work, put in an equal amount of time and presence, and look for things like that all over. And hopefully we all learn to ignore that voice in the back of our head, and ignore that impulsive cowardice, ignore that survival mechanism, make the choice to love, make the choice to continue working on things, and enjoy every part of life, even the difficult ones, because that's where we all get to grow and shine and become better in the long run. So I hope as we come into the holidays, you all have a good one. You all learn something, and we come in next year being a little bit of a better us.